Thanks for joining me again as I continue painting Archie the Corgi. For today's painting, I'm using some yellow ochre. I'll also be using cinnamon brown and some black. Most importantly, I will also be using a bunch of white. So let's get mixing. I'm going to make a few different shades of our yellow, one that's lighter, one that's darker, so that we can make sure we have lots of variety in his fur. Today's section is to work on Archie's ears. I've already base coated in some of the different areas of shadow and light, but we're going to get into the details a little bit more here today, kind of show the texture of the fur a lot more. For the majority of today's painting, I'm using a brush called Da Vinci, or that's the brand actually, and it's a size 0. And as I got into this painting further and further, I realized that I probably need to upgrade my paintbrushes to get some more thinner ones, 00s or 000s, because making the little lines for hair is actually quite challenging. You also have to have kind of the perfect consistency for your paint too. My white paint in particular is quite thick compared to the other paints, which mostly were from the dollar store, and so they don't spread really well. Generally speaking, I add water to most of my paints to get them to be a little bit more smooth, but then I have to add extra water to the white, and it just doesn't flow the way I like it to. So there's a little bit of trial and error today as I tried to figure out the best way to make these little hair-like marks on his ears. As I painted, I kind of switched between whether I was doing a dark color first or a light color first. Kind of have to think about that as you go. Sometimes you want the dark to be more prominent, so that might go on top. And other times you want the light color to be more prominent, so that goes on top. Also, there's often times when you're kind of combining those colors, trying to make whatever you've done look natural and subtle. The next step was to move to the other ear. Again, repeating a similar process where I began to add in some more details and block in some more of the colors. In this case, I started with some of the darker colors. This side of Archie's face is more in shadow. When I'm working on a pet portrait or another commissioned piece, I often have several pieces on the go at once. People often ask me, why it takes me 3 or 4 weeks to finish a piece when in total I probably put in about 8 to 10 hours per piece. However, because painting isn't just my job, it's also my passion, I use it as a release from the stresses of my everyday life. And so I want to still find enjoyment out of my painting. And that can be really challenging when you're working on one thing only. It can be hard to stay motivated. It can be hard on the body too, especially this time of the year. I'm often looking incredibly closely at my paintings because I'm painting usually at nighttime with a light on my desktop after I've come home from my other job. And that can also be hard on the mind to be just focused on one thing at a time. It really helps me to jump between multiple pieces so that I can stay focused and make sure I'm doing the best possible work I can on each piece. Thank you for joining me again as I worked on Archie's ears. Please come check in again so you can see the next steps in the process to painting a pet portrait. Have a great day.